Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Chris here. Nice to see you again. You're all welcome, of course, onto my YouTube channel, and I appreciate everybody that comes along and watches my videos. So I want to thank you for that as well. So today we're doing a baby mountain gorilla. I thought he was dead cute. I'm just blocking in at the moment, as you can see, with the flat brush. I'm using some indigo blue and a tiny bit of phthalo blue just to get the dark values of his fur. Now, this is a friend of mine I follow on Instagram. She's called Jennifer Hardley. She's an absolutely fantastic photographer of wildlife, buildings, all sorts of scenes, bears, owls, everything you can think of. She's a real wonderful lady as well, and she gave me permission to use her photographs. So this is one of them, of the baby gorilla. So I'll link her Instagram page in the description box below, and you can go and check out her channel. She has some wonderful photographs. I'm sure you'd really enjoy looking on her page. So thanks, Jennifer. I appreciate it. So now I'm just using a nice, same blues and that I'm using, but I've just lightened them slightly to make them into more of a grey blue, just to get his features on his face. Obviously, this is the underpainting. This has got a lot of detail in this actual painting today. Obviously, it's speeded up slightly for your guys to view. It took me a few hours. It took me a minute to do it, and put it that way. A minute to do it, that rhymed, I like it. But I really enjoyed doing this, and I got stuck in with the detail, and I hope you appreciate it. I'm sure you do. If you do, give us a thumbs up, because I really do appreciate it myself. And share these videos with your friends. You know, if you've got social media or a page, you can put them on, you can share them out. Somebody might, be interested in it as well. It's nice to share stuff. I like sharing things around. So I'm still using my little soft filbert here. It's just a tiny one. I have multiple filbert brushes, but this is the smallest one I have, just to get these rough sketches in for his features. I'm using the same colours. The only time it changes, if it goes a bit lighter, I'm just adding a tiny little bit of white. So it's the actual same colours as the actual fur. So I'm just getting this underpainting in. And the grey tone really helps, and it does help doing a nice tone for your canvas on the background. Instead of just using the stark white of the canvas, it's nice just to tone it a little bit, because it helps with the actual colours when you apply them to your canvas. So I'm just building this up. I'm letting each layer dry, obviously, before I come back in, because you don't want it all to mush in. But I'm not paying too much attention at the moment, as you can see, to detail. I'm just making sure I've got the nice soft blends I was looking for, or any harsh lines I wanted more prominent. So I'm just concentrating on that. So I'm coming into his eyes. I'm using some yellow ochre, some quinacridone gold, and some burnt orange, just to get these little white bits of his eye in. He's actually looking across, if you will. He's not looking straight on, so you can see quite a big proportion of his eye on, especially on this one I'm painting now. So I'm just thinly applying these, so they're just the nice thin glazes of these colours, as you can see, that I'm putting in now. I let each layer dry, and then I come back with a different value, different shade. I either desaturate it or saturated it up a bit more, depending what look I'm looking for. And obviously, if I'm happy with it, I'll let it dry and move on to come back into do another glaze. There's a bit of red in this one, a bit more of a sienna feel as well. So a bit of red and sienna. And I've used some cadmium orange, as you can see, and yellow just in the corner of that eye that I'm working on now. It's a lot of yellow ochres, Naples yellows, siennas, reds, just to build it all up in these wonderful glazes. I'm actually using that indigo blue for that dark value of his eye as well, just to get it blocked in. And I do strengthen it just a little bit with a tiny little bit of Mars Black. So just mix the blue and the black together. Now I've moved down to my round detail brush just to get in where these eyes are, to get in all the corners and all the little fiddly bits of his eye there. Aren't they beautiful creatures? I do find them very fascinating, and I love watching wildlife programs. I love all animals, in fact, not just these. I am a big animal fan. Excuse me. And if you do watch me channel a lot, you find that I do a lot of animal art. So I find it very pleasurable. I like the detail that I can apply to certain objects. Some I can do a loose style, which I like that as well. So it just depends what animal I pick, how I paint it. But I have quite a few animal paintings that you can go and look at. If you want to browse through my playlist, feel free. You can save them as well. You can make up a playlist. Then they're there for when you want them. You don't have to go around searching. You know, other people as well, not just me, but you can make your own playlist in case you didn't know. So each layer is drying in these eyes, and I'm just putting, as I go, I'm doing the lighter reflections, obviously, keeping the eye, my eye, no pun intended, on the values, the dark values as well. There's multiple glazes in these actual eyes to get that realistic feel. Now I'm glazing just a tiny tint of yellow, just to go around the edges there, because it was a different value. Obviously, I've changed it quite a lot from the photograph to make it into my painting style, which you can do yourself, or you can paint it, obviously, like the photograph. But I do change it to suit the style I like to paint in. It's a realistic feel, you know what I mean? It's very realistic, but I do like to put these different tints of colours in, like you see I'm doing now. Now, I don't know what he's looking at. He's probably looking at Jennifer thinking, what are you doing? Taking a picture of me. But she's a wonderful photographer. She really is. And I know some of you do follow her, my friends as well. You know what I mean? I know a few of you do follow her. Please check out her Instagram page. She's awesome. She's a really nice lady as well. Just getting these details in his nostrils. Like you see, I'm just using a tiny little bluey green here. You think, oh, why bluey green? Because it's a nice colour, and it could be a nice contrasting colour. So you got the really darkness of his nostrils that you'll see me put in later on. Then it comes to that bluey green, which is more of a mid-tone value, and then the real highlight. So you've got 3 transitions there to get that realistic depth into the actual nostril. You'll see as the video progresses. So I'm just doing a bit of detail here on his lips. He's got some like little bristly furs. You can see now as I'm going into the nostrils, another nice glaze. Same here on his ridge of his nose, just getting these highlights in. But don't cover up all your dark values, obviously, because you need them. Because that's your actual map, your actual raw map of your blocking in stage. So just be aware of that. But if you do go over them, just make sure you come back and put them in. I think I use my detail brush quite a lot throughout this painting, especially here on his face. I'm just darkening some values there you saw on his eye on the left there. And same around his nose again. So I want some light areas to make his nose stand out and prominent. So it's not looking flat, you know what I mean? You want that nice 3D feel about it. I'm giving one side of his face a lot lighter than the other. Can you see that wasn't actually a brighter white or more of a yellow white on the left? And more of a brighter whitey grey on the right side. Coming into his eyes again, another glaze. A nice soft yellowy orange. I do want these very realistic. I do want that feel about it, which I do capture that. You know, in the eyes especially. Because when you're doing animals, the eyes seem to be the centre focus of a painting. Well, even a photograph when you look at something. But when you're doing it as a portrait like this and nothing else in the background, the eyes will be the main feature. I'm paying quite a lot of attention into that detail there. So I'm coming in with my values again, the darker values, because I have gone over some. So, you know, you do have to come back and do that, which isn't a problem. Darkening the nostrils again. So it's building up in layers, like I always said. Never go too bright too soon with your highlights, because it'll just look really flat, you know what I mean? You won't be happy with it. But that's fine if you're just learning to paint. Not, you know, that's not a problem. But when you get more of a seasoned painter, you learn these little tricks as you get going. You've got to pay attention to your values more than your colour. Your values are very important in your artwork. Because colour's just colour. As long as your values are correct, you know, you can apply any colour. So I'm just using a little fur brush here. It's like a flat brush, but it's got like some straggly ends to it. So it gives that nice fur texture. You'll have seen me use it before, those that follow me as well. You can, I think they call it a fur brush, a rake brush, depends what part of the world you live in. But it's a soft one, it's not stiff, it's very, very soft. Comb brush, that's another word for it as well. And I'm just flicking up, using the corner of it there, just to get them little wispy bits in. But when you're using these brushes, make sure you do move your hand, you know, twist it left, twist it right. Don't go in just one direction. Make sure you follow the actual, like this gorilla, the fur, the way the fur is growing. I'll just change hands here because I do paint with both hands. And I found this was great just to get this first base in. It worked really well, this little brush. I don't use it a lot, you know what I mean? But it did work really cool for this. So I'm very pleased how it performed. Just getting his fur there. Now his fur on his face is a lot different to the actual fur I'm painting here, which is like his shoulder that you can see. So I'm paying attention to that. It's a bit more fluffier and a bit more like woolly looking, especially on the right side of his shoulder, which you'll see me do in a minute. I do multiple layers of this just to build it up to how I want it to look as well. So this is just the actual first layer, which is a really dulled down grey colour, mid-tone grey. And look, there's some tiny little bits of fur there, some longer straggly bits. So I'm paying attention to all that. Make sure you have a good reference, that helps as well. A clear, crisp reference. And it was a super picture because she's an awesome photographer. Because when you're painting something, you want to be able to see what you're actually doing. If it's a bit blurred or out of focus, you know, it's a bit tricky. You want a nice, good reference. Especially if you're doing detail work like this gorilla here. Bit different if you're doing something in a distance. You don't really need it that brilliant of a photograph, you know what I mean? Because you won't be working the detail up as much. But like this would be in a close-up visual, you need to get the detail in. Like you see, I'm just scrumbling in here on his shoulder on the right-hand side. See, a bit more of like woolly, fluffy stuff. Fluffy stuff. You know what I mean? It wasn't it was a different texture than its actual features on his face. I'm coming in with another layer now. It's just a little bit brighter. So it's not pure titanium white yet. It's just tinted with a tiny little bit of blue. And just a tiny little bit of blue, of that indigo blue. Hardly any. Just to tint it slightly. The undercoat that I've just done, that was just the grey, the actual grey. Now I'm just using a little bit of that indigo blue and titanium white. Using the same brush. And I really like this because I like the contrast of just that nice grey background. I think it looks really well. When he's actually finished, you'll see at the end, he really pops out the canvas. Because on a photograph, I think it was like some green foliage in the background, which I didn't really want to apply, but you could have done. I just liked it this way. It worked for me better, for my artistic brain. But whatever works for you, you can add and take away things into your artwork. That's why we're artists. We can create things the way we want, should I say. I'm making sure I've got them little flecks there. He's got some little hairs just dangling there, bless him. And he's a young, obviously a baby, young gorilla. So cute, aren't they? I've never really seen one in real life, only at the zoo, but I bet they're awesome to go and see in real life in their own habitat as well. So I'm just using that brush still again. So I'm going in between, can you see that blue? Because the more of the blue highlights there, especially now it's dried. Now I'm actually using my rigger brush here to get these nice little flicks of detail fur here. And I can do a little bit of dotted work, especially around his eyes. And now I've gone back to my soft filbert. Now a really thin layer of this to make his fluffy little fur there on his shoulder. There's a bit of detail in that, but not much. Plus you didn't want it all the same as his face anyway, because it just wouldn't look correct, because it's different fur texture. Back to me rigger brush again, just getting these little squirrely little bits of fur here. And these whiskers around his face. Oh, they're cute, aren't they? I love them. I just love painting animals. I think they're really cool to do. You can see all the detail now, just getting in there, this precision brushwork and these lovely fine lines. I find it very therapeutic. I really do enjoy it. But you can see how that's made a big difference now, can't you? Just using that rigger brush. I'm back to my soft fill, but just softening little bits here. I've just got a thin glaze of that blue. I'm just going in softening some of his fur inside his nostrils. Now I'm coming back in and building the highlights again on his actual features in his face now. It's not a pure white, it's still an off-white, it's still like a grey tone. So you just do pure titanium white, just be, you know, amateur looking. You still want to tone it down slightly. Them little dots in his nose. They're in there, so I'm putting them in inside his nostril. Touching up any dark values and lightening up any sections that are not light enough there, obviously. Back to my little filbert again, just to put another layer on his shoulder fur there. Which, like I say, it's a bit different. It's more of a woolly feel, more how you paint a sheep or something, yeah? I'm doing multiple glazes to just bring everything together. So it's just like a thin layer of glazing medium, obviously, with a tiny bit of that blue. And it just softens things for you and brings it all together as well, because sometimes you do lose your values when you're building up your midtones and highlights. That's why I've come back with this glaze to put the dark bits back in. But make sure it dries before, you know, if you need to do another layer, make sure it's properly dry. like it is now for me to come back in and add the highlights. So thanks guys, I hope you enjoyed this. I thoroughly enjoyed painting this little guy, and I want a big thank you to my friend for letting me have the photograph. And I'll see you on my next video guys. Bye for now.